didn't know Joe.
Yeah.
Seen her.
I think her door was open earlier. I hadn't seen her. No, she's not. That's right.
The county of threes.
That's right.
That's right.
She is not here today.
They're not home.
When something drops, it's gonna come in threes.
I agree.
So you're gonna have to stand in?
I get that all the
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, but it works.
Okay, Will, it's 10 o'clock. Ms. Cockrell is not here today. Heavenly Father, we come before you today to do the county's business. We ask that you guide us into making the right decisions for the county. Ask that you be with all of those that are going to be traveling this week, especially during this weather that we're going to have. Ask that you make it light and plenty of rain, but no ice. Ask that you be with those that protect us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
I'll have it right there.
At this time, any person with business before the court not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the court. No formal action can be taken on these items at this meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Eckert?
Can I come up there closer to Jim? I'm not gonna hurt him. Mr. Robinson, you have been my commissioner since 2016, and I realize that you're not running. And I just want to say thank you. And I know you take all kinds of crap from people, but I have never, ever said nothing to you bad. Because I love you, okay?
Okay.
And I'm just saying that from the bottom of my heart and my brother's heart, we both want to say, enjoy your retirement.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Eckert.
That's very nice.
Ms. Summers?
There is a local county election coming up with 3 contested races. Well over half of the elected positions in this court are on the ballot. County Judge, Precinct 2, and Precinct 4 commissioners. A total of 9 candidates, 8 of which are newcomers. We're here in a live and in-person forum with no one wearing a mask other than maybe 1 or 2, and no one concerned with social distancing. Yet candidates for those 3 positions will not have the opportunity to participate in an official Republican organized live and in-person forum. A few of the newcomer candidates requested a forum like that and were turned down by the local Republican chair that has instead organized a pre-recorded video forum. Other counties are holding official Republican organized live and in-person Q&As. Why isn't Scurry County? We as voters are being denied an opportunity to ask our candidates any of our own questions in a live and in-person forum setting. Therefore, we are being denied the opportunity to see how those 8 newcomers would perform in an official live and in-person forum setting. What we, the voters, are offered instead is a pre-recorded, very brief video of each candidate introducing themselves, and then they will proceed to answer, in my opinion, questions that were raised during the rollback. Those questions have been proved officially in the past by the 8 newcomers. We as voters are once again getting the short end of the stick here. There should be a live in-person forum put on by the local Republican chair, and the newcomers should want that. Even that if that forum consists of wearing masks and suggests social distancing being used. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Summers. Mr. Tibbins?
I have a concern.
Not Tibbins.
I know that the
Clay.
public health department is being, gonna be thought about
Yes, sir.
shut down and moved. And I was wondering, had you guys considered where you're gonna move it to, and have you considered places within a short distance from where it is now?
We're gonna get into that in a public hearing here in just a few minutes, Mr. Clay.
So, okay, well, if you're not gonna move it out of District 1, I'm,
Okay, yeah, we'll get into all of that here in a few minutes, and we'll have some back and forth on that.
thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Any other public comments? No? Okay. Court to discuss and consider interprecinct project schedule and staffing. Anything that we need to be aware of?
Still dry.
It is still dry. Yeah. Update, I did get that application turned in yesterday about 3:30 for the recreational trails. We'll hear something back from them about May, somewhere around there. Okay, court to hold a public hearing to discuss and consider to submit under the State Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Community Resilience Program funds for non-entitlement communities, including Scurry County. We'll start that public hearing at 10:06. This is for a grant for the health department, and what we're looking at is putting it over beside the law enforcement center over to the east of there. Looked at other areas for that. Nothing seems to really fit what we have. We already own that property. All the utilities are right there. To tear it down and rebuild in that area would require that we spend additional dollars to rent a place. Grant wouldn't cover that. The grant we're looking at is 100% grant. There's no fees involved for Scurry County. They would pay it comes from the feds to the state and then to us if we are awarded the grant. So there would be no dollars involved with us, but that's where we would be looking at putting it, Mr. Clay.
Have you considered Central? The Central, where the old Central School was?
Yes, sir. That actually doesn't belong to us. We'd have to purchase it, and then there's already the the food cupboard has already purchased part of that and moved in on there.
Okay, but it wouldn't, the building that I understand you guys are thinking about building wouldn't interfere with that part of it that's being occupied now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another lot right there across from that's empty. Right across the street from the Senior Citizens Center.
Okay. That's an option. We could definitely look at them and see what it would take. It's not cut in stone at this point. So, I mean.
And there are other lots. What I'm getting at is this. To me, to keep the facility in the areas that is where the people most use it as accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And if we move it out of that area, I don't know how accessible it would be to them getting to it.
Right.
Or if you put it in a central location, or a location they can come to over by the Catholic Church, it would fit the needs of the most of the people better. So if you look at these areas, I mean, not just because it's in my district,
Sure.
but because it will benefit more people than just a few. And one of the other reasons that was brought up to me, that it would be no safety factor where these locations are. So if you consider those, and some of this land, I'm sure would be well within your purchasing budget if you have one. So it's not so far out of fetch.
Yes, ma'am.
May I address?
Yes, ma'am.
Currently, in the last year, we have had 2 that have actually walked to the facility in that area. The rest of our clients have always been able to achieve a ride. They have vehicles of their own. And also, whenever we looked at that geographical area, whenever we were looking at the process and the application process, where the location that we chose is still within that area. And so that was one of the reasons why we went with that, because from where our area is currently, back towards the LEC and back towards that is the most of the population that we do currently serve. And
So you're moving it out of that area though?
it's actually geographically, it is going to be directly across, but it still encompasses, and that the actual clients that we serve, the bulk are actually in the area between where we are currently and the law enforcement center. And so some of those, there are not many of our actual clients that actually live in our general area as of right now. Because we have done studies to check and see their addresses, the areas that they come from, because that's what we want to be. We want to be where we need to be and where we can do the best.
Well, from the information I've gotten, it is felt that if the facilities move, you're not going to get the service of the people. You're not going to service the people that is needed the most.
They still live within that same area. That's what
But
I'm
you're,
saying.
but you're moving it away from the area where people can't get to it.
They're
much
in the
as 10
same,
miles.
they're in the same area, because as I said, that's what I'm saying right now, is that it's basically, we're on this edge and we would basically be on that edge. It's still going to be the same distance. And as I said, most of them, other than one, they actually drive to the facility now. It has, the area itself, unfortunately, no longer houses the same people that they did in 1952. Whenever that building was actually built, that's the reason why it was built in that area. There are no longer, if you will actually look in the neighborhood and spend time in that block, there are very, very, very few children. There are very few adults that we actually serve in that area currently. The actual, as far as residential, has moved more towards the area where we're going than where we are currently.
Maybe you just serve around the Catholic Church.
We have not the Catholic Church is basically splitting the difference. And that is something, as the judge said, that this is not set in stone, but my point is, we're still in that same neighborhood, we're still in that same area. And we always, one thing about it, if we have clients that need our services, we find a way to get them into our facility. It's not like they don't have options other than walking. So that is one thing that we do take into consideration.
So additionally, Spartan Transportation, of which I'm on the board of, gives rides to anyone that needs a ride to any medical facility within this town, or even to grocery shop, whatever. And so they're here, I see them all the time. And they're here with more than one or two vehicles. They also help out the Senior Citizen Center and give them a grant so that they have transportation as well. So transportation can be provided for anyone. I've got lots of people that could use the facility if they just understand that transportation is available, that are way out of the side of Huffman Avenue, which is a long way out there. But transportation is there for people to be able to get to the facility.
Well, and nowadays, a lot of people don't understand the accessibility to the transportation, because they're not afraid of coming to where it is now, but they are some concerns about moving it out there. And getting transportation to where it is now is hard. Getting transportation to where it will be moved to will be,
We'll pick them up right at their home and take them.
you know.
All we need to do is just let more people know that it's there and available. A lot of people use it. I see their buses here all the time transporting people. And so it's not that it's not here, it is. And anyone can use it. Even the disabled, they've got the vans that are accessible for disabled people. And they have for the masks, they have they clean constantly or sanitizing their buses and fear of using that transportation. And they need to go.
Ms. Summers?
Is this an application you're submitting to get a grant written, or has the grant already been written?
It's been written, so the last meeting we had, we filed a resolution to file the grant, and that has been submitted. It was shortly after that, it was mid-January when that was due. So it has been submitted, and it's the application process. They require two things, one before the submission of the application and one after the submission of the application. So this is the public hearing for after the submission of the application.
I have several questions along that line. Is there a copy of the application that the county has done? And also, is there a copy of the grant that was written, available to see?
There is, I've got it, but there is a copy.
Okay. Also, initially, the grant was noted as being for 3.5 million, and then it increased $1 million to 4.5 million. Are there any numbers that are easier to access that add up to the $1 million increase?
As I answered you in the question that you sent to me, that exact question, after talking to the grant writer about some things, we had some discussions with her right after a meeting in which she was in, discussing different things. She felt like that we could apply for more funds in that application. The grant is up to $5 million, whether it's 3.5 or 4.5. It's 100% grant.
I was just wondering, why was $1 million added to it? Was it for more furnishings, overages? I mean, I think that's what she's asking, is why was it budgeted that way?
Really,
I mean, what would be
the
what
initial
is-
conversation? Showed 3.5, but that's not a final. It was
Okay.
her initial.
for
this is-
budgeting and stuff like that? I mean, for
There-
overage in buildings, is that what you're talking about? That it could be?
It could be that. We also discussed in that meeting emergency storage. We have
Oh,
all of our storage in 5 different locations. We'd be able to put all of that in one
One
location.
central area.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Right there beside it.
That was my question,
Sure.
is why was there an additional $1 million? If it was budgeted this way, why we were adding $1 million to it?
Right.
Because I'm not really sure why. I
Sure.
didn't know if you thought building materials by then would be exorbitantly high, which they are,
Mhm.
and that you needed it or overage. Was it for new equipment or what it was
Well,
specifically?
there wasn't, the only thing that specifically we discussed was the storage of the emergency management
Okay,
equipment.
that's all I needed to know.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Summers?
You had stated that there was no cost associated with the person that is writing the grant.
Correct.
Have there been any costs for the designs drawn up by Shannon McMillian's employer, Centurion Planning and Design? Because it seems like there was a plan drawn up that the cost would be 3.5 million, and then a cost for 4.5 million, which would basically involve another design. I'm just wondering what the cost is for the county has been for the designs drawn up.
$0. There have been no designs drawn up whatsoever yet. We won't do any of the designs or engineering or any of that until we know whether we get the grant or not. And that we'll have to go out for RFQs or RFPs to get different companies to submit to put in designs. There really hadn't been any designs. It's been, the only thing that we have is a map showing where it would be on the property. And that's,
So
I
is
think
the
pretty much anybody could do that.
3.5 million or 4.5 million, is that based on square footage? I mean, where's this design that you need? Well, I mean,
Can I? The difference between 3.5 and 4.5, this grant, when it's written and submitted, you have to go, that doesn't mean all 4.5 is gonna be spent. Because if you don't put in for it, you can't go back and say, okay, we run short. That's where the million come from.
I'm just wanting to know
I
where
think
the
she's
dollar
asking
amount came
how
from.
much the square footage it would, were you going by
Well, I'm
square
asking
footage?
who came up with that? It's gonna cost 3.5 or 4.5?
I don't understand why it's a big issue though. It's a grant, it's federal money come through the state of Texas.
Well, why
to
didn't you ask
us,
for
if we-
5 million plus? Does that put them in a
Because
different?
the max is 5 million. The max that
For our
any of these,
size?
any project, no, for any of these projects
Size?
from the state of Texas is $5 million. I think we're splitting hairs when we discuss 3.5 versus 4.5 in this very initial process of applying for the grant. I don't see how that applies to,
Well, my question is, where did the,
that came from
I mean,
Shannon. That's the number that she came up with.
What happens if we don't get this grant? Are you gonna go through with it and expect taxpayers to pay for it, move in a building? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. If you don't get the grant,
We haven't even
That ain't even
started that
started
process.
thinking
No,
about it?
ma'am.
because I don't know about you, but that's a lot of money.
I agree, it is.
Asking taxpayers, if this doesn't go through,
Mhm.
to foot.
I agree.
Because we foot a whole lot of stuff around here and it's getting really bad because I just got my withholding. And I don't know if you've gotten your checks and noticed it, but my retirement check is short $101 from now on, thanks to Washington. And that cuts into my food for my cats and dogs budget and my budget. And if anybody wants any barn cats, I've got 6 of them. They're wild and they can come to your house and you'll never see them again unless you throw out some food and water.
Yes, sir, Mr. Clay.
In your consideration, I know you've already planned it out for the area that you already own. But would you consider the other areas that I mentioned, close to the Catholic Church and the central elementary school area? And if you would you consider it? And then if you consider, would you give me the information of how you determine whether it's not good or it's a good place or whatever?
Sure. And grant. Shannon McMillan found this grant and the reason she brought it to us is because she was aware that we own that property there as what she called a shovel-ready job. Because we own the property, we've got quick access to water and sewer, and that she felt like because of that gives us a leg up on any other people that would be applying for the application or any other entities that would apply for the application. So it may be that the grant is contingent on that aspect. So it's something we can definitely look into, but because of that was one of the big reasons that she pushed for us to get this grant at this location. was because it would be a shovel ready. We wouldn't have to go out and purchase land. We wouldn't have to look for water and sewer and make sure that those were in the locations and all that. So,
Can I say something?
yes, ma'am.
What I would like to remind everyone of, the reason why this grant, the availability even came to us is because Shannon's parents have been here. She's from here. Her dad is Vic Chambers. Her mom is Lana Chambers. Her mom worked in that facility for years. And she's very familiar with it. It's very close to her heart because she knows and she wants something good for the county. And that's the reason why Shannon found this and she brought this to us as an opportunity. And if we did not at least apply for this grant or take this opportunity, why on earth would we not apply for it? And if we don't get it, so be it. But on the flip side of that, Shannon has put a lot of work and time and effort into this because she loves Scurry County. And she wants to see Scurry County do well, and she wants us to be able to provide the services that need to be provided for our county. And she's even made the comment, and Vic has made the comment, whenever I was a little boy, I got my vaccines and everything in that same building. And so they would like to see something good come out of all of this.
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Summers.
Will bids go out for a design firm?
Yes, ma'am, that is required by law.
Okay,
Anything else?
okay, I'm keeping a note on that.
That's fine. I mean,
I'm
if it's
keeping a
required
note
by
on
law,
that.
we're gonna follow the law. We're not
Okay.
gonna take shortcuts and try to hide anything. There's
Okay.
nothing to hide.
I'm making real good notes on that, because
That's your
Shannon
prerogative.
McMillan works for a large design firm.
Sure.
Planning and designing is their specialty.
It
She
is.
works for them. She may not be being paid by the county.
I
but
know
she's being
exactly who
paid
she
to
works
do a
for.
job. And I want it out there that bids will be taken, and it's gonna be very suspicious if Centurion Planning and Design wins the bid. I want that on the record.
All right.
All right.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll go ahead and close this public hearing at 10:27. And there's nothing to vote on, so we're gonna see because we've already considered and applied for the grant. Court to discuss and consider going out for bids to sell an antique airport beacon. This is a beacon that we have out at the airport. You want to speak to this, Terry?
Yeah, since we've talked about auctions for 3 or 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that never has come to fruition for one reason or another. When we first talked about it 3 or 4 years ago, there's a couple of guys that asked to be let know whenever we did have an auction. And they continue to ask, and sometimes we're not sure that that's going to ever happen. Hopefully it will, because we do have a lot of stuff to get rid of. But I thought, after 4 years, these guys have been wanting this for this long time. Let's let them bid on it and see if we can free up some room in the storage at the airport, and also give these guys what they need if they want it. And they want to bid on it. And anybody else, they can bid on it, because it'll go out in the paper the next 2 weekends. And everybody will be notified that it's there and it can be seen at the airport, and that it can be bid on by anyone that wants to. There was even a suggestion that we put it in classifieds. They said there's people that all over the country that look at classifieds in Scurry County.
Okay.
And so,
Well, I'll make a motion, we'll go out for bids for the beacon.
All in favor?
When are we gonna open them? When will we open the bids?
That's a good question. We have a meeting March 1st. We want to do it then. Is there plenty of time?
Should be.
It's a month.
yeah,
Should
it
be.
should be.
Okay. Okay, court to consider approval of line item transfers and budget amendments.
There are a couple of line item transfers. The first one is maintenance department. He's moving 900 from his maintenance repair miscellaneous into auto expense. He needed to get new brakes and rotors for his truck. The next one is JP1, the tech court line. She's moving 1,000 from her miscellaneous repair into internet to pay for her Zoom fees and other internet. These fees and stuff in these lines can only be used for tech-related things for court expenses. That's all the line item transfers. Then there are 3 budget amendments. The first budget amendment is for precinct 1, going 2245 going into equipment, 1,000 to 5,000, and 146040 going into equipment under 1,000. This was receipts from some scrap iron that they sold in December. It was receipted in December, therefore it was in December in 2021's money, and he's requesting it be put into his budget for 2022.
Sorry.
Then the courthouse security lines, Fund 28, miscellaneous expense 1,000, and this is for the monthly fees for the courthouse security. Only thing that can be used, those funds can be used for. And then this one is golf course renovation and improvement, 40,000, and this is to demolish and the abatement of the the asbestos for the clubhouse. This was voted on last year, and we certified the extra revenues last year on that.
And that money was generated by the golf course.
Yes.
It's not ad valorem tax money. We're not taking out of reserves or anything.
Correct.
Make a motion to approve the line item transfers and budget amendments.
All in favor? All right, accounts payable.
1,386,596.76.
Motion we pay the bills.
All in favor? All right, we're gonna now go into executive session pursuant to personnel matters. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Vernon, thank you. Appreciate you coming in. And I will look at, see if there's options to do.
All that tin they're taking off.
Hey, Vernon.
Do you think that would be better?
Sorry, I'm just calling you the wrong name too.
So, scrap